All right, quick question. What kind of society turns killing into a national sport, sells tickets to it, and then complains if the blood isn't dramatic enough? Yeah, welcome to ancient Rome. Because when we talk about Rome, we love the marble statues, the aqueducts, the toga aesthetic, the whole greatest empire ever vibe. But let's be honest, Rome had a thing for violence, a big thing. And not just in war, in entertainment, in politics, in everyday life. So the real question is, why? Why did Romans love violence so much? And no, it's not just because they were savages. That's too easy. The truth is way more interesting and, honestly, a little uncomfortable. Picture this. It's a bright afternoon in the Colosseum. 50,000 people are packed into the stands. Vendors are shouting. People are laughing. Senators are sitting in VIP seats. The emperor is watching from his box. And down below, two men step into the arena. One has a net and a trident. The other has a short sword and a heavy shield. They salute. The crowd goes quiet. And then, chaos. Steel hits steel. Sand kicks up. Someone gets cut. The crowd roars. Not gasps, not looks away. They roar. This wasn't underground. It wasn't secret. It was prime-time entertainment. Families came. Kids came. This was the Super Bowl, but with real blood. Now, here's the first thing you need to understand. Rome was built on war. From the moment it was a tiny city-state fighting its neighbors in Italy, to the moment it became a Mediterranean superpower, crushing Carthage, Greece, Gaul, Egypt, violence wasn't a side activity, it was the foundation. If you were a Roman man, especially from the elite class, your reputation depended on military success. Glory came from the battlefield, political power came from conquest, wealth came from plunder. Generals like Julius Caesar didn't just win wars, they built their entire careers on them. When Caesar conquered Gaul, he didn't just expand Rome, he wrote about it, publicized it, turned it into propaganda. It made him a superstar. Violence wasn't shameful, it was admirable. Courage, discipline, endurance, the ability to kill your enemy and not flinch, that was Roman virtue. They even had a word for it, virtus. And it didn't mean being kind, it meant being manly, strong, dominant, unbreakable. Now think about what happens when a culture spends centuries celebrating battlefield glory. You don't just turn that off when there's peace, you bring it home. That's where gladiators come in. Most gladiators were slaves, prisoners of war, or criminals. They were trained in special schools, fed well, conditioned like professional athletes, and then thrown into the arena to fight for the crowd. But here's the twist. Romans didn't see it as random slaughter. They saw it as discipline, as ritual, as a demonstration of courage under pressure. If a gladiator fought bravely, even if he lost, the crowd respected him. Sometimes they even demanded mercy. Violence, in their minds, wasn't chaos. It was controlled, structured, almost sacred. And let's be real, it was also insanely entertaining. Humans are wired for spectacle. High stakes grab attention. Add life or death consequences, now you've got adrenaline, emotion, investment. Modern sports give us a safe version of that. Back then, the stakes were real. But it wasn't just about entertainment, it was political. Emperors understood something very clearly. If the people are fed and entertained, they're less likely to riot. Bread and circuses, free grain, public games, massive shows in arenas like the Colosseum. Emperors like Augustus mastered this. He understood that public spectacle created loyalty. Later emperors took it further. Some, like Caligula, blurred the line between ruler and performer. Others, like Commodus, literally stepped into the arena themselves, staging fights to present themselves as unstoppable warriors. Violence wasn't just entertainment, it was branding. It reminded everyone who had power and what happened when you challenged it. Public executions were a thing too.
Criminals weren't quietly jailed, they were displayed, punished in front of crowds, sometimes even used in staged mythological reenactments, except the actors actually died. Brutal? Yes, but from a Roman perspective, it reinforced order, it showed consequences, it made power visible. And that's another key piece. Rome was obsessed with hierarchy. You had senators, knights, citizens, freedmen, slaves, foreigners. The arena made that hierarchy visible in the most extreme way possible. The powerful watched, the powerless fought. Violence reminded everyone where they stood. Now here's where it gets even interesting. Romans didn't think they were uniquely violent. To them, this was normal. They believed they were civilized, especially compared to the barbarians beyond their borders. Groups like the Gauls or Germanic tribes were painted as wild, chaotic, uncultured. But from our modern perspective, the Colosseum looks barbaric. That contrast tells us something powerful. Every society has blind spots, things that feel normal at the time, but shocking in hindsight. And here's another uncomfortable truth. We still love violence. Not real arena fights, obviously, but look at our movies, our shows, our video games, our combat sports. Action films dominate the box office. War dramas win awards. True crime podcasts explode in popularity. We package it differently. We sanitize it. We fictionalize it. But the fascination is still there. The Romans just didn't pretend. Now, was everyone in Rome bloodthirsty? No. Some philosophers criticized the games. Some early Christians were horrified by them. Over time, attitudes shifted, especially as Christianity spread and new moral frameworks took hold. By the 5th century, gladiatorial games were fading out. The empire itself was struggling. Priorities changed. But for hundreds of years, violence was woven into daily Roman life. It shaped their identity. It proved their strength. It entertained their masses, and it maintained their empire. So when we ask why did Romans love violence so much, the answer isn't that they were monsters. It's that their entire system, political, social, economic, was built on conquest and dominance. Violence was proof of power, proof of masculinity, proof of order. And once a culture normalizes something at that scale, it becomes invisible. You grow up with it, you cheer for it, you defend it, you call it tradition. Now, imagine sitting in that Colosseum again, the sun beating down, the sand stained dark, the crowd chanting, the emperor watching. Would you have cheered, or would you have looked away? That's the question that makes this topic so powerful, because it forces us to ask not just who the Romans were, but who we are. And maybe, just maybe, we are not as different as we like to think. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the darker side of Rome, stick around, because the ancient world is way messier, way more dramatic, and way more human than the marble statues make it seem.